Welcome to episode 19 of Psycho Pass. Last time Kogami went off to go find Makishima, so I can't wait to see what the last couple episodes have to offer. We're going to watch this one and discuss it. Subtitles and timer are on screen if you want to follow along that way, or you can pull up the full episode on the side. But either way, let's get into it in 3, 2, 1, play. Got that letter for Akane, so we'll see what she does, but here he is. How's he actually gonna find him, and what's Makishima gonna be doing? He's not just gonna go sit around somewhere. He's gonna be doing something, so he went to the safe house that Masaoka told him about. Got that picture of him and little baby Ginoza. Alright. Got a bike. Let's go. Still have the helmet to keep himself anonymous. And here we go. While the OP plays, let me say that if you enjoy these videos, subscribe to the channel. Psycho Pass comes out every Wednesday with other videos every single day of the week. Also, check out the description down below for Twitter and Discord links if you want to hang out there. And Patreon, where you can support the channel, get these videos early, vote in polls to decide which shows I'm going to watch, and all that stuff. So yeah, thank you. Of course, we have the main characters, but, you know, Masaoka and Ginoza, what are they going to do? How are they going to get involved? There's still that whole enforcer woman who got away. I don't know where that'll be relevant, but we'll see. And then there's this part of the OP, Akane and Kogami both pointing their guns at Makishima. They're on opposing sides, so we'll see what happens. And I think the original OP ended with a shot of Akane facing off against Kogami, I think. And actually, this one does too, with at least them walking in opposite directions, so at least that they're opposed in some way. Okay. He's not doing great. Ginoza is on the cusp of latent criminality. Yeah. He really was. That was like the one thing he was adamant about, like not letting that happen. And yet it was kind of unavoidable. Oh, wow. They've had a lot of disagreements, but yeah, she gives him hope. He doesn't want anything to happen to her. What's up, Saiga? Oh yeah, he can just tell. Couldn't he tell that, like, she was close to her grandmother or something when he first met her? He's just got major powers of deduction, so he can just tell. Oh, you've got a gun. You have a blue pen in your left pocket. Okay, yeah, we'll go after him too. Fuck it. I mean, that's what they have to do. They have to capture Makishima. That sounds pretty messed up when you say it like that. Do you have any kind of leads on that at all? Yeah. I feel like a lot can happen in 5 days. I don't think so. I don't think he's the escaping type. He's more of the taking action type. Yeah. He did do that, you're right. I guess not. You've got to stay focused on the job. Yeah, of course you'd want to stop him. No, I think your hue will be just fine, no matter what. Yeah, it just doesn't really get affected that much, but that doesn't mean that you're cold-hearted. Yeah, like you're obviously feeling these things. That's a good question. That's a more definable, easy to answer question, but I get what you mean. If you want to be literal, it's just the thing. It does the pumping of the blood. But, yeah. If you want the more difficult answer, well, that's a much more difficult topic to discuss. So you're gonna wait it out here? Or you think you have to do something in the meantime? Yeah, I would think so, yeah. That I mean, yeah, that's what it is, right? Pretty much. A little bit of a mix of the Joker-esque chaos with anarchy. So just completely emotionally detached. If that's how you describe it, then yeah, that's basically what it is. It's what it's trying to be. It's what it claims to be. Go right ahead. Wants people to know. I mean, that's true in a way, just knowing things that everybody else doesn't know can put you ahead of them. He wants people to know the truth. I don't know if that's going to happen. I think you're probably right. He would definitely quote some kind of book. He likes to do that. That's a pretty good line. Maximum prisoners with minimum guards. Do you? Yeah. Yeah, we really, don't. I didn't even really think about that recently. Wow. I wasn't even thinking about the fact that we know so little about his past. Because he's so interesting as a villain now that that's all I was focused on. And it's like, oh yeah, we really don't know much about where he came from. So maybe we will find out more. I mean, I already really like him. Yeah, there's no time for talking about our past. I'm just gonna go hunt him down. That makes sense to me. Not gonna happen. He wants them to stay away from that for their own sakes, but he wants to help out here. Yeah, I mean, it is an enforcer who escaped, so that can't have a good punishment. Gave him the keys to his house. I mean, he just saw that as being Kogami's business, so he's like, okay, here, I'll let you go do your own thing. It's no concern of ours to stop you. It's like, he can't let that happen anymore. Because he's tired of being left behind like that. You can't help it. Okay. But yeah, he could feel that same feeling that Kogami did, so that's why he let him go. Go for it. Wired into the system, which brain is gonna be dominant in there? What did we decide? Okay. This guy knows what he's doing. Those are the people who were useless? So they just hang out on the internet. Maybe that's just what Reddit is. It's just the people who are rejected by Sybil. 4chan, whatever. They all look like Japanese to me. Can't read them. Food autonomy. Food shortage would be a pretty big deal. Okay. 99% from that one thing? Yeah, like that's kind of putting all your eggs in one basket. Are we gonna have a showdown in a wheat field? That's kind of cool. Alright, well that's the only lead we have to go on, just because that's something that would be a huge blow to society, so it's possible that he would target that. No more farmers. Sorry, you're out of the job, out of your lifestyle. And just nobody even lives there. So gotta get it from the outside. Get the influence of other countries. People will get hungry, and they will get angry. So it sounds like a good plan if that's what he's really trying to do. Open the borders. Isolationism is not the answer, Japan. Well, shit. Okay, we'll see what happens to this guy if we end up seeing him again. Yeah, he's the one who has to actually go do it. But he obviously wants to. It's great. It's a motorcycle helmet in addition to hiding his identity. Fantastic. Hides your coefficient and protects you from head injury. Everybody should have one. Hello. That's terrifying. Just kind of shows up on its own in the dark room. Here, take this. Oh. You will? Okay, they were talking about getting somebody that they could use, and they've chosen Akane. I didn't think the method they would use for that is just to tell her. Maybe they decided that's the best way. And I knew she would have to find out the truth, but I didn't think they would just tell her. But okay, let's talk about that episode. Alright, episode 19 still building up to the conclusion with Makishima. We have Kogami, who actually went to the house Masaoka told him about, borrowed the bike and everything. It's cool to see Saiga again after a little while, and for them to start coming up with a plan and figuring out what Makishima is doing, which is really interesting, just addressing this food situation, which we've heard a little bit about before, like at the beginning when Kagari and Akane were hanging out and he made her all the food, and you had like the whole alcohol situation. But to learn the full extent of it, where like 99% of food seems to come from this one source, and just the fact that they used the method that they did to figure this out, just posting on this message board of these people who were opposed to the Sybil system and just looking through it for the best responses, is a pretty interesting way to do it, and I guess that makes perfect sense. I'm assuming that what they talked about here is what Makishima is actually doing. They're kind of going along with it and treating it sort of as fact, just because it's the most likely, it's the best thing they have to go on, it seems the most likely for what he would do, and they do establish here how well Kogami understands Makishima. It's definitely not 100% confirmed that this is exactly what Makishima is going to be doing, but for now, I'm going to assume that they're right on the money. He could be reverse psychologying them. Like, I knew you were going to think that I would do that, so instead I'm going to go do something else, but I don't think he would do that. They talk about in this one how he's not the type who would try to escape. He's going to fight until his very end. He's going to stay here and keep doing what he does, which was pretty obvious. So even here, like, if this is the best thing that he could possibly do to try to accomplish his goals, then I think he's going to try to do it, even if he knows that they know that he would try to do it. So I think that is going to be what his plan is. You know, they could show up there and wait and be wrong, and it's like, shit, and he turns up somewhere totally different. But for now, I think we're supposed to assume that what they discussed here is what's going on. And it makes sense from what they describe with how it all works, how it would resort in opening up the borders, having to have these interactions and imports from other countries, refugees would come in, which would muddy the waters of the whole crime coefficient system. People's coefficients would be going up from the hunger and the chaos that would happen in society. It seems like a really good way for Makishima to accomplish his goal, so it makes sense that is what he would be trying to do. And again, just like how he's been a really understandable villain this whole time, where I disagree with many of his methods, and he's done some really bad shit, but his overall goals are extremely understandable, and you kind of want to root for him at some time. So when they were explaining that plan, there was a part of me where I was like, yeah, you know, kind of hope he succeeds. It'd be kind of cool. I'd like to see what happens. Even if it's just from the perspective of having an interesting story. Like, I would like to see him succeed in that and then see what happens to society as a result. But also, yeah, I see so many of the same flaws in the civil system that he does, so you really do kind of want him to succeed. And I can't wait to learn more about him, because they also discuss his past, and it was great having that scene of Kogami just kind of describing how he thinks Makishima would react to certain things and getting into his head, and being probably completely correct. He would definitely quote books. He does that all the time. Many people in this show do that all the time. But trying to assume what his life may have been like in the past, and I hadn't even really given it much thought, because he's such an interesting, fun villain in the present. I hadn't even really considered such a thing as a backstory. Maybe that's because of his resemblance to the Joker, and generally you don't get a backstory for the Joker most of the time. You get maybe fabricated ones. So I just hadn't really even considered it, which is odd, because a lot of the time I do. Usually for characters I think like, oh, I wonder what they've been through. I wonder what happened in their life to lead them to be who they are now. But I didn't much consider it for him, just because I like him so much already. And I guess I was just content enough with what we already have. But yeah, if we get some backstory, in addition to how cool he already is, to further explain things for him, then that'll be great. I don't know if we will. We might not even, and that would honestly be fine too. Because they even say, like, you're not going to ask him these questions, right? No, we're not going there to talk. He's going there to kill the man, so yeah, we'll see what happens. But great stuff with Ginoza and Masaoka, as his coefficient continues to fluctuate. Ginoza's been trying so hard this whole time. That's like the one thing he's been so heavily focused on, about protecting your psychopaths and not becoming an enforcer like what happened to Kogami, and trying to instill that into Akane's head so much, and yet it was kind of inevitable. He just couldn't help it, and it seems like he's headed on that path, which that seemed like the natural character arc for him for a while. A character like that eventually becoming an enforcer seems like something that would probably happen. And wanting to just pursue this against Masaoka's judgment, who's more concerned about Akane and Ginoza, and saying that it's not really worth it, and explaining what it's like to have that kind of obsession that Kogami has. And I guess he probably had the same kind of thing. Like, you can't just throw away everything that you've lived for, everything that you've worked for this whole time, would just feel like a lie. And he probably felt that kind of way about detective work. Like, he resented the changes that were happening in society and the changes that happened as a result of the system and his job and everything. But of course, he kept working here anyway, because I guess he just couldn't throw away his lifestyle that he had had this whole time. But Ginoza is just tired of people leaving him behind like that. And that was good. That was a good scene between the two of them. And I also like that he said that Akane gives him hope. Like, they've had a lot of arguments. They've been in conflict a lot. But he recognizes her strength, and he doesn't want anything bad to happen to her, which is really nice. And then with her, I liked her scene with Shion as well. Kind of doubting herself and how her psychopaths stays so clear all the time, which would be considered a virtue by so many. And we've talked about that, and how she's able to just kind of accept the way things are and move past them. And so I wonder, like, what the Sybil system thinks of her, which is very interesting considering what we get at the end. But yeah, she's worried. She's like, am I just completely heartless? But I don't think it's really like that. She feels emotions, for sure. Absolutely, and she cares about a lot of these things. It seems to be that she just doesn't let it get to her on a deep level that, like, deeply affects and changes her worldview and understanding. Like they've said before, she lets these emotions in, feels them, but like then moves on, just kind of accepts them and lets them go and cools off. I guess it's on a basic level, like the difference between you something that makes you angry, like something ridiculous you read online, and you're fuming about it the entire day, and it's just ruined your whole day. Or you read it online and you're like, oh, well, that's stupid, and then you move on, like a healthy person should. But yeah, like, I can't wait to explore that more. Maybe even in future seasons, what they have to say about how Akane is, like, if her method of dealing with things is right, if it's healthy. Because, like, I mean, clearly, again, she does feel emotions and care about these things. She's just able to move on from them so quickly. Like, it's not normal, but maybe that's maybe it's a good thing. Maybe she has, like, the best way of dealing with things, or maybe we'll find out that it's actually not that healthy. But how would she be from, like, the Sybil system's point of view? Because all of these brains working within it, these criminally asymptomatic psychopathic people, like, she feels emotions, and she's not like this unbiased observer, disconnected and detached emotionally, disconnected from society and from everybody else. But she is similar in a way, in that she doesn't let it get to her. So, like, would the system want her as somebody incorporated into it, or just want her used in certain other ways? Because, of course, at the end, it approaches her. We had that scene earlier where it was trying to figure out what it should do and who it can use, and it was like, I don't understand that decision. That decision apparently was to bring Akane into the fold by telling her everything, which is interesting. I didn't expect that's how they would do it. I guess they've just decided that that's the best way to get her on board. This is the best way to make use of her and her unique talents. I can't wait to hear more explanation of it, but for now, that seems to be the case. The best way is just to tell her the truth, which is fascinating. I knew she would have to find out sometime, but I didn't think they would just tell her. So I can't wait to see her reaction to that, and how that changes things when everybody finds out, like Kogami, Ginoza, and everybody, because that definitely has to happen, right? So that was a really cool way to end the episode. But yeah, there was just a lot of discussion in this episode. Not much to really go into detail on. They kind of discussed it all themselves. A lot of it was really interesting, just talking about what is a psychopath in that scene with Akane and Shion, or just how Kogami and Saiga were talking about Makishima and what he's like, what kind of person he is, what kind of system this is, about ruling by having knowledge and keeping that knowledge from the people, about the ideal, like, bureaucratic administration that's just kind of emotionally detached, and how that's what the Sybil is trying to be and what it proclaims to be. So I can't wait to see more, to learn more about Makishima. They talked about this sense of alienation that he must have felt, so if we actually get a good backstory, there's not a lot of time left, but, you know, if you just give us a quick one where we really just get a gist of what he went through, it can be enough, because he's such an interesting, fun character already, that just having a quick backstory explained could be satisfying enough. But I can't wait to see more from him, see what he's doing, if this is really the plan that he's doing, how he executes it, and how I will kind of be rooting for Akane and Kogami, but also kind of rooting for him too. And we'll see how Akane and the rest of them and Kogami come into conflict. They don't want him to go through with all of this. They want to save him. They want to help him. Akane wants to stop him from being a murderer. But of course they want to capture Makishima. So what'll happen to Makishima and Kogami? Will Ginoza's hue become clouded? What kind of answer will Akane come to with all of this? She's already questioning, what is a psychopath? What does this all mean? What does it mean for me? And now she's going to learn the truth about the system. What is going to happen there? I'm excited for the last couple episodes, so let me know your thoughts on this one. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. We can talk about shit down in the comments, all that stuff. Patreon down in the description if you want to support the channel. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.